Welcome back, guys. Today I have currently got on my helmet the GoPro Hero 8 Black, as you've probably seen, and I've got my Drift Ghost X on the right side of my helmet. Now, what I wanted to do today is go through a bit of a comparison with the GoPro versus the Drift, and I wanted to go through a few settings to see how much better the GoPro is. So currently I am using 1080p, 30 frames a second on both cameras. Now the GoPro is set to wide angle lens to try and match the lens of the Drift, and it is also set to flat color, and then all the settings that I went through in the previous video I've set back to auto. Now the only reason I've done that is to give it a bit of a chance against the Drift, but also when you lower your shutter speed, like I was explaining in the video, to give that motion blur, what can happen is the shot looks very overexposed just because you're letting so much light in. The way to fix that simply is putting ND filters on. There are a few other ways of doing it, but I'm not massively camera savvy, so the way I know of is to buy ND filters for the GoPro. I'm also, because I know I've slated it quite a bit, I've put a route on Cali Moto because so many people are saying it's such a great app. The problem I found with it, I've had a few good rides with Cali Moto, but when you set it up to start from my home address, for example, it takes you through all the windy roads, which would be great, but it can't distinguish whether they're towns or whether they're like backcountry lanes. Obviously I do not want to be going through a 30-mile-an-hour windy road in a town. So what I've done is I've ridden 10 minutes away from my home into sort of the countryside, just away from the main towns, and then what I've done is I've set a small route on that to see if I can actually get something half decent rather than faffing around. Look at all the people in the pub. In England today, it's the first day that pubs are opening after lockdown. Now I won't go on about it too much, but all I will say is I don't understand. I get the premise of needing to get the economy going again, and I love, like anyone else, I love going for a cold pint with my mates, especially when it's a nice day and nice weather. This is saying turn left and then go back right, so I think, no, let's follow it, because if I don't follow it then I can't say it's a great or good or bad app. The way I look at it is everyone loves going for a pint, everyone loves going to the pub and standing with their mates and having a few beers and chatting about whatever, but I don't see how, after being told that we need to socially distance for 4 months, that it's now okay to go and stand in a pub and pour pints and have a few and whatever. I think there's far easier and better ways of getting the economy started or getting more money coming into the economy than opening a place that is purely for socialising. But that's all I'm going to say on the matter. Maybe it's just because I'm salty that gyms aren't open yet and I really want to go to the gym because I'm getting fat. Mind you, gyms aren't really much better, are they? Let's be honest. So obviously the GoPro has a Hypersmooth 2.0 setting, which is like a camera stabilization. Now the Drift doesn't have any form of camera stabilization at all, so I wanted to give it an even chance of giving a comparable output. Today is quite a dreary day, so I bet the colour looks very, very flat. So the other things I am going to do is I'm going to try the GoPro in 2.7K, again 30 frames a second. The reason I'm staying in 30 frames a second is for A, because the Drift can't go any higher than 30 frames, but also when you pop it into a timeline on any editing software, you have to essentially choose between 30 frames a second or whatever your timeline is going to be running. If you start mixing 30 frames a second with 60 and like 25 and 24, like, I don't know how the software will deal with it. I don't know whether it just plays the clip faster or slower, should I say. so that might be a point. So I thought, let's just run them all in 30 frames a second. I'm probably going to run the GoPro in 30 frames regardless, but yeah, let's give that a go. Let's pause the recording on the GoPro now. Control. Now hopefully you can still see me on the drift. So, get on this lag. Never been down this road before. Cali Moto striking again. So right now we are up in 2.7k. I've turned the hyper smooth on, and this is still at 30 frames a second, but I've also got the GoPro color on, so hopefully you'll be able to see a difference between the flat image and the GoPro color. Again, I'm still on auto white balance, I'm still on auto shutter speed. It's not really worth trying out the low shutter speed until I've got the ND filters, or at least can work out the better way of doing things. So I've just left it all on auto for now. Like, I think so many people will get auto, like, will be fine with auto, so it should be fine. This is the only other thing with Cali Moto, is it takes you down these tiny little back lanes. Now this is a 30-mile-an-hour lane, but look at it, it's just covered in stones. I don't know whether you can see that. Just stones everywhere. I mean, it's fun for doing that, but it's not bad. But I think the problem is it sees a windy road and it goes, yep, that works, that's a windy road. It doesn't take, I mean, obviously I know you can't program the software to be able to tell whether you're on a road that's got stones and gravel all over it, but surely you can create a bit of software that will avoid towns rather than riding through towns. I'm not sure. I think the premise of it's a great app, and I think it will work really well if you're in the Midlands, or if you're near the Lake District, or somewhere along those lines, somewhere where you've got the good roads around and you just want something that's going to take you to those good roads. But when you live near a city or near quite a large town, you don't really get that's a shit junction, wasn't it? Beep beep beep. I'm getting towards the end of the life of these tyres. Absolutely nothing to do with the fact that I always open up the throttle when I'm on a little bit of gravelly dirt and whatever. Oh, nip up here, okay. Let's try this. Whoa! Christ. Bit of stones on the side there. That was fun. Front wheels dropping out. Now I am going to stay with 2.7, I think, unless it's hugely improved. The reason I'm going to do that is the file size is on 4K, so much bigger, and I think it's also because I had it in a high bitrate mode. But yeah, I will jump up to 4K in a bit just to see what it's like. I am coming towards the end of the life of my tyres. I mean, they've done very well. These are Michelin Pilot Road 5s, or I think they're just Road 5s nowadays. I've had 2 sets of those, and I had some Road 4s as well. And I can't recommend the Road 5s enough. They are astounding. The first set I got 12 or 13,000 miles out of. They still had quite a lot of life left in them. But the reason I got rid of them is I don't like risking having low tread tyres. Now, the thing that's great, I'll do a video about it probably at some point, but the thing that's great about them is they say that because the tread grooves are wider at the bottom than they are at the top of the tyre, so as you wear the tyre away, the tread actually gets wider, which means that it still clears as much water. And I think one of the press launches is when one of the statements, I don't know how true it is, but at 50% wear, the PR5s have got more grip than a brand new set of PR4s. That just shows you, doesn't it? Like they're fantastic. I swear to God, if I come just back down this. So I'm following Cali Moto again. Right, so that has now just taken me down. Yeah, I can't get down that. That is one of the big problems of Calimoto. Behind that baby ship brown orange coloured Vauxhall, there's a small pathway. Like it is a pathway. There's no way. I mean, I could get my bike down there, but if I got caught doing that, I'd get a very serious fine, I would have thought. So what Calimoto has just done is brought me up this road and tried to take me down that pathway because it thinks it's a windy, curvy road, which is, in my eyes, needs to be sorted out. See, look, it's trying to bring me out in that garage. Yeah, that's crazy. Where was I? Calimoto angering me again. So yeah, I've done probably about 8,000 or 9,000 miles on these tyres so far. I like to change them a bit early because I just don't like risking the fact that I've got slightly balder tyres on. They've still got plenty of life in them. I reckon I could get another 2,000 or 3,000 miles out of them if I was riding relatively relaxed and like not racing around the lanes or whatever. Yeah, but I think my next set of tyres, because I've got to this point where I now quite enjoy taking this on the Oz gravel track / green lane, I wouldn't mind something with a bit more bite in the tyres, a little bit more tread, just to give me a bit more traction. I'm not looking for anything properly hardcore, like off-road, but just something like a bit of a mixed adventure tyre. Now, some of the tyres I've been looking up look fantastic and look like just what I want, but this being a sports tourer in a way rather than an adventure bike, it's got 17-inch wheels on each rim. You mix that with the fact that you want an adventure tyre. Most adventure bikes nowadays have 17 or 18-inch rear, which is fine, but they have a 19 or 21-inch front wheel. So the tyres that you want, I can't get for this because it's 17s all round. Yeah, I think I might just have to suck it up and get another set of these. They're pretty damn good. Like as a road / touring tyre, I don't think you can beat these, but it would be nice to be able to get something like an Anarchy Adventure or something along those lines. Now this is saying go left. Might pull over and just double check that because that doesn't look like it's taking me where I want it to take me. See, I think I don't really want to go back where I've just come from, so I'm just going to delete that one. How do I delete it? Yeah, I know. Do I have to stop navigation? Pause. Yeah, look, so it's brought me all the way up here, and it's just going to do a loop and then take me back up the road I've just come up. So if I just move that up here somewhere. Yeah, let's do that. Continue navigation. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop recording on this anyway. It's one of those things where I know I asked it for a route, but it's just taken me it's done a figure of 8 rather than actually taking me somewhere. Oh, shut that visor a bit, it's getting a bit windy. Yes, it's taken me, I don't particularly, I mean, I'm not that fast. Like when I go out on my own without this, there's a high chance that I'm just doing loops and everything of like nice roads that I know. But like I kind of think as a navigation it should be able to take you up north, or whichever way you set it, take you up, go round and then come back in one round route rather than... Oh, you're just going to pull out then? That's nice of you. Did not even look. I've got my fog lights on as well, so there's no chance he didn't see me. So what I actually forgot to say, because I was too busy moaning about vans and Cali Moto, is that I am now recording in 4K in same sort of settings. I mean, it's literally the same setting. It's 30 frames a second. So 30 frames a second, super view with hyper smooth on. It's also got GoPro colour on, so the colour correction. So we'll see what this looks like. And I think if it's not a lot of difference between this and 2.7, I think I'll just do 2.7 to save the space. Why are you braking so hard? Oh, there's a massive bus coming the other way. Cheers, mate. Cheers, old buddy, old pal. I think I'm gonna dispatch this van as soon as possible. Probably not on a blind corner though. Or another blind corner. Now this is slightly more like it. Again, pubs are just absolutely rammed. It's like 30 people sitting outside less than half a metre away from each other on benches. Like, I know... Oh, I'm not going into it. Sorry, everyone gets really bored of Corona and chatting about lockdown and everything. It don't half bug you, doesn't it? When you're trying your best to do as like guidelines say, saying that I know that the pubs are open and are allowed to be open, but it's still like, take a bit of initiative, mate. What I might do is when we get into the town ahead of us, I'm gonna swap back into 2.7 just because I don't want to rinse my way through the memory card. Gad. I'm a bit scuffed then. My speedo on this seems to run about 15% fast, which is fine. I'm not worried about it. But well, mainly for if there's any police watching. But no, it generally does. Like when you go past at 32, 33, past one of those signs that gives you, like the radars that give you your speed, that's always sitting about 27. Which I know is not 15%, but it seems to vary a little bit through the range. Like sitting at 77 on the motorway is bang on 70. Just as I've had my GPS on and it's reading bang on 70. So, oh, a Ferrari. What is it? 458 it looks like. Two Italian stallions in front of me. One with 80 horsepower. One with probably well over 600. Yeah, nice. Right, because I was going through a town, I decided to turn the cameras off just to conserve battery and memory space. What I've done is I've put this camera back, the GoPro is back at 2.7K, 30 frames a second, hyper smooth on, all the usuals that I said about, everything else is on auto. And then yeah, what we're going to do, I think I roughly know where we're going. Oh, McLaren, very nice. I think that was a 570, but still looked very, very fresh. See, I'd happily be a car guy and doing videos on cars on YouTube, but I can't afford the nice ones. You can't compete with the people that have got like, you gonna hurry up, or you gonna use an indicator rolling around in their McLaren or their 488 Pista and whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, I've got a Seat. It's pretty dope Seat, if you ask me. I am in a little town, however, once I'm out of this, I should be alright. These roads are slowly getting better. I've definitely given my brakes a good seeing to. I did get a question actually about the video where I was setting up the GoPro. When I was talking about the frame rate, some people were saying about why, like, it actually makes it sharper. I say some people, I got one question about it. They're asking why the frame rate makes it actually sharper and why I don't like it. Now, basically with, I mean, 60 frames per second is literally what it is. The camera is taking 60 photos every second, and that is, or going through 60 frames every second. There we go, up the speed. Now this is taking me towards the 507, which I love. Great cracking bit of road. Now, if this was a sunny day, how great would this be? Massive bit of open road to myself. National. Would be nice to have a few more bends in it. So basically with the frames per second, it's doing at 60 frames a second. If I do that, that's like, well, say there's a second of footage there, it'd be 60 versions of that, if that makes sense, just going across the screen. Now, that's fine, you get really crisp. It's really good if you get really crisp footage and you're after that really crisp footage. And it works really well if there's not a lot of movement in your shot. Like, I've got all this going past me, all this greenery and stuff. Now, the human eye is not designed to see all of this perfectly clear. Like, if you're riding along like this, most of this is all blurred. The point of lowering the frames per second is it's taking less photos, or, well, there's less frames in each second that you're filming, so there's more of a blur between them. So when I do that past you, you don't see, it's not crystal clear of my hand going through the whole shot. It's more of a blur. So that is why the film rate, like cinematic movies and stuff like that, are shot in 24 or 25 frames a second, depending where you are. I think it's 24 in America and 25 if they're shot in Europe. And then the only time that you really want to go much higher than that is if you're doing slow-mo. So like super slow-mo, you can do it 240 frames a second or more. And the reason behind that is you want it to be clear. You want that to be clear because you're going so slow. Again, it's like that. If that was blurry with me putting my hand through the shot like that, it'd look really weird. So that's essentially, like, that's the very basics behind it. Like, that's why you want a lower frame rate, because it looks more natural to the human eye. If you watch, like, you can go on YouTube now and just type in like 4K 60 frames a second cinematic shots, and if there's any movement in it, it'll be crystal clear and look really odd. Like, even though it looks stunning and really pretty, it just looks not quite right. Right. If I haven't signed off already, thank you for joining me on this again. I'm really hoping this GoPro's giving the nice footage that I was expecting it to. And if it's not, then tough. Thanks for joining me, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.